Hello everybody and welcome to the 8th video in our series of videos on political developments in Ireland in the 20th century. Last time we looked at the 1913 lockout after the videos we had watched on the Home Rule crisis, and now we move on to the 1916 risings. As always, we have our learning outcomes. So first of all, you guys should know the members of the IRB Military Council. Secondly, you guys should know how they attempted to recruit men and weapons. And finally, you should know two things that went wrong and stopped the rising taking place on Easter Sunday as was planned. The IRB had come under new leadership with Tom Clark and had new enthusiastic recruits such as Padraig Pearse. And when World War I broke out, they saw this as an opportunity for them to achieve the goal of Irish independence. They saw England's difficulty or the war as Ireland's opportunity. So they would have gone against the idea that they would wait for the whole country to be ready for a rebellion and decided that now was time to strike. They formed a military council in 1915 charged with planning the rebellion against the British. There were 6 men on this council: Tom Clark, Sean McDermott, Padraig Pearse, Joseph Plunkett, Eamon Cant, and Thomas MacDonagh. And in January 1916, they decided to stage the rising in Easter in 1916. But like any good revolution, they wanted to keep their plans secret until they were ready to attack. So they secretly attempted to recruit men and arms. And there were 2 groups they wanted to join them. First of all, they tried to convince James Connolly and the Irish Citizen Army to join the rebellion. James Connolly was one of the leaders during the 1913 lockout, and he set up the Irish Citizen Army to protect workers' rights. The second group that they wanted to convince were the 10,000 Irish volunteers who didn't join the British Army. They wanted them to join the rising as well. Remember, these guys were led by Owen MacNeill, and John Redmond had convinced 100,000 of their fellow, or 110,000, sorry, of their fellow men to join the British Army in World War I. As far as arms were concerned, they elicited the help of this man here, Roger Casement, who was sent to Germany soon after World War I began. Casement is a special case. He was a bit of a celebrity and a hero in England, as he had written extensive pieces on human rights atrocities in places such as the Congo and Peru, and they had a massive impact on British colonial policy. But he was a nationalist and he was Irish, and even though he was a celebrity in Britain, he was determined that another abuse was how the Irish had been treated by the English and that he wanted them to have their freedom. So Casement went to Germany and he eventually secured 20,000 rifles and 10 machine guns, and then he set for sail for Ireland on a ship called the Aud. The IRB, again, they tried to convince Owen MacNeill, the leader of the Irish Volunteers, to join, but he was against the idea. He said he would only join if they were either attacked by the British or if the British attempted to conscript his men into the army. So Joseph Plunkett, one of the members of the Military Council, forged a document called the Castle Document. In this, it stated that the British had plans to disarm the Irish Volunteers. Once MacNeill had this Castle Document and assurances that Casement was arriving with guns, he put an order in the newspaper telling the volunteers to go out on Easter Sunday for drills and manoeuvres, which was code for them taking part in the rising. So the original plan was for the rising to be countrywide, but plans fell apart before the rising began. First, Roger Casement was captured in County Kerry, arriving with the weapons. This meant that the guns that were meant to be distributed countrywide were now in the hands of the British. Next, the second thing that delayed the rising was that Owen MacNeill found out the Castle Document was a forgery. And he sent out word in the Irish Independent that the drills and manoeuvres were to be cancelled. So it seems that the rising was defeated before it even happened. But the IRB Military Council was adamant that they would have the rising and decided that they would go ahead with it the following day on Easter Sunday. They realised that whatever chance they had of staging a successful rising was now gone. So they opted instead to make a stand. And if that was unsuccessful, they hoped that their blood sacrifice would inspire the rest of Ireland to rise up. In the words of Padraig Pearse, you cannot conquer Ireland. You cannot extinguish the Irish passion for freedom. If our deed has not been sufficient to win freedom, then our children will win it by a better deed. That brings us to the end of our presentation for today. So again, to review our learning outcomes, you guys should know the members of the IRB Military Council, the 6 names. Secondly, you guys should know how they attempted to recruit men and weapons, mainly by trying to get the ICA and the Irish Volunteers involved, and the efforts of Roger Casement to secure weapons. And finally, you should know 2 things that went wrong and stopped the rising taking place on Easter Sunday. So that would have been the capture of Casement and the guns, and the discovery of the castle document as a forgery, and Owen MacNeill's countermanding order. That's the end of the presentation. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys got something good from it.